Thanks for joining me on episode 818 of the Inspired Stewardship Podcast.
Hey guys, this is Matt Ham from Uprint. I want to encourage you to find your own journey to living your life's calling. And one way to be inspired to do that is to listen to the Inspired Stewardship Podcast with my friend, Scott Mater.
What are the events that I can let go of? What are the events that I can delegate? What are the things that others can do equally well? And what are the things that I truly need to be the person that does it? It's about intentionally identifying these things. It's about coming up with a plan and creating the systems and the processes to allow you to do it.
Welcome and thank you for joining us on the Inspired Stewardship Podcast. If you truly desire to become the person who God wants you to be, then you must learn to use your time, your talent, and your treasures for your true calling. In the Inspired Stewardship Podcast, you will learn to invest in yourself, invest in others, and develop your influence so that you can impact the world.
In today's episode about investing in yourself by stewarding your time, I talk with you about one major reason to get your time in line is so you can actually be present. I share how not working on this can often lead to huge regrets. And I talk about how productivity actually gives you more time if you're doing it right.
As we talk about stewarding your time, wouldn't it be great if you could support this podcast and do it without just taking too long? Turns out you can't. All you have to do is use inspiredstewardship.com/Amazon when you're ready to make a purchase via Amazon, and a small commission will come back to support the show just that quick. If you enjoy the show when you are ready to buy from Amazon, just use inspiredstewardship.com/Amazon.
One of the biggest complaints that I hear about people when I begin to work with them on productivity is about how they're unable to do the things that they really want to do. For example, they'll find themselves in the evening whenever they've supposedly gotten off work and they're supposed to be spending time with their kids or their spouse or maybe others, that instead they're distracted and pulled in other directions by work, that they're not able to be present in the moment and spend time with their family or their friends and really focus on them, be present in the moment and in the place where they are. Instead, they find themselves distracted because emails come through or other things that perhaps they haven't finished during the day come up in their mind, and they find themselves thinking about work or thinking about other activities instead of being present in the moment. It's not just about missing an event. It's not just about not being able to make it to my son's band concert or your kid's baseball game or date night with your spouse and you end up running late. It's also about, even when you are there, not really being there, not really able to pay attention, not really able to focus because other things are pulling you away. And I know people that have really had major regrets whenever they lived their life this way for long enough, because almost inevitably it leads to conflicts in your relationships. It leads to moments where you're having a fight with your spouse or your boyfriend or your girlfriend or others in your life, your partner in some way, or it can lead to feelings of regret that you're not able to really be there for your kids. I've had those moments myself. I've had those times where I'm regretting the fact that I've chosen to live my life in a certain way that now is stealing time from those things that I, at least on my surface level, say are actually the most important things to me. Because the truth is, if I'm not living that out, if I'm not able to be present in the moment, then is it really as important to me as I say it is? Or is it just something that I'm paying lip service to? I'm stating it's important, but I'm not actually living my life as if it's important. See, the truth is, productivity, meaning doing the right things, bringing in alignment, your values and your priorities so that when you do commit to things, you're fully committed to them and you're able to be there present in the moment is what buys you that time. It doesn't buy you more time in terms of adding hours to the day. There's nothing that we can do to make the day longer than it is. Instead, it buys you more time because it allows you to make choices that empower you to be present when you're present. It allows you to make choices where you've committed to blocking certain time off on your calendar for an event, and then you're actually focused and there and present during that event because you've committed to it. See, it's really about not balance per se, but it's about finding the ways that whenever you do something, you've committed to it 100%. And you do that intentionally and deliberately and with forethought, not by accident. See, managing your time, getting productive is not something that just happens. There's no amount of money in the world. There's no amount of time on the calendar. There's no amount of anything that makes you able to do the right things other than learning how to do the right things. This is why productivity is so important. It changes your entire life because it multiplies itself over time. As you spend time figuring out ways to multiply your time, to build the systems to say no to certain things and to spend extra effort building things so that later things get easier, then you actually multiply and gain more time. This is why, for instance, people will talk about, I don't want to delegate anything because it actually takes me longer to show this person how to do it than it does for me to actually do it myself. And that very well may be true. But if you do it right and you teach someone else well enough how to do it, then you actually spend that extra time once. And if that gains you back over the next month or 2 months or 3 months or a year, hours and hours of time, then even spending a full day training someone is well worth it because it gains you that time and it multiplies itself. It continues to grow and it always adds up. Now, that's why you have to intentionally think about what are the events that I can let go of? What are the events that I can delegate? What are the things that others can do equally well? And what are the things that I truly need to be the person that does it? It's about intentionally identifying these things. It's about coming up with a plan and creating the systems and the processes to allow you to do it. It doesn't happen by accident. And it's not easy either. To be clear, I'm not talking about easy work. I'm talking about important work. This is why it's so important, because at the end of the day, this is what allows you to be present in the moment and be when you're at work, you're at work. And when you're at play, you're at play. You're able to focus on the present and be there and in that state and in that flow at that moment without distraction because you've built the systems and processes to allow you to do it. That's what I believe real productivity is. That's what I believe real freedom is when it comes to your time. Thanks for listening.
Thanks so much for listening to the Inspired Stewardship Podcast. As a subscriber and listener, we challenge you to not just sit back and passively listen, but act on what you've heard and find a way to live your calling. If you like this episode on the stewardship of time, be sure to sign up for our Stewardship of Time Tips series by going to inspiredstewardship.com/time or texting 44222 Time Tips, and that'll get you our best tips on stewarding your time. Until next time, invest your time, your talent, and your treasures. Develop your influence and impact the world.